All right. Hey, it's Hippie, H&H Racing Bad Back and Knees Club on YouTube. And I'm here with my sweet wife, Hannah, who has not only agreed to let me do this part of this in the house so we could hang out together, but is also videoing for me.
Hey there.
Hey. So this is a 2-to-1 ratio mix. And Hannah has taken the liberty of marking this for me. We are going to be using 12 ounces of Part A and 6 ounces of Part B. And she put the lines on there to make the pour easy for me.
Well, it's hard to see without the lines.
Well, you just take real good care of me is all. And so I am going to go ahead and do the first part right this second. And the directions seem pretty good with this product. It's one of those I kind of know how to do it, but at the same token, I always reread the directions, make sure they haven't made a change in product or that there's nothing different from the last time I've done this.
That is no longer nature's miracle in that jar.
No, it isn't, baby. I just...
Used to be.
We're going to have to say, again, I knew I was going to have to sacrifice one of the measuring things, and I didn't want to sacrifice a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is, and I'll tell you, I actually poured 1 ounce too much.
Aim for 2 lines up from that, I guess.
Yeah, so...
Then 1.5 lines up from that.
Yep. And...
No, just 1 line up from that because it's 2-to-1.
Then a half a line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do a little bit of mathing. All right. I'm pouring this a little slower so I don't make the same mistake again. All right, so there we go. There is our mix. And I found that for doing these epoxy things, that plastic coat hangers make wonderful stirring sticks. And so I'm going to go top to bottom, high, low, round, round, figure eights. Scrape the sides real good. I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to drop it if I do it down there on the cardboard. Then I'm going to scrape the sides real good and cross it up and, like I say, go from top to bottom with it. Gives a real good mix. But they're calling for, they ask you to do a good 2-minute vigorous stir with it.
Does that tank repair thing work on plastic as well or just metals?
It can be used on plastic, but it's a little different set of directions for the plastic and a little bit different for aluminum tanks. This is good old-fashioned Japanese steel here. From the 70s, don't you know?
From before I was born.
Yeah, it actually is, baby, but not before I was born. Dirty cradle robber. But it's funny, Hannah and I were talking earlier that it doesn't occur to me, you know, I've got this thing, I still think it's 1986. And you say something's from the 70s, and I'm like, oh, cool, man, that's pretty late model.
Well, it's 20 years ago.
Yeah. And,
it's 50 years ago. It's 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's 50 years ago. But we've been able to get everything correct on this bike, and like I say, I wish that, you know, I wish the tank wasn't like it is, but if the tank wasn't like it is, it'd probably be in a museum or in a private collection someplace, and this guy is actually going to ride this thing.
That's what happens with these barn finds and, you know,
Yeah,
neglected machines from years past, though.
Yeah, and I think I told you, honey, that this thing's got less than 4,000 original miles on it.
Wow.
And that is a phenomenal find. Sounds super good. And in my box of seals, I actually had replacement oil seals for the kicker shaft, the kicker, the shifter shaft, and the sprocket shaft. And just honestly, man, I probably shouldn't do stuff like this like I do, but I just donated them to the project.
Well, what else are you gonna use those things for?
I know that's why I say
Right.
that stuff, but yeah, I just kind of this was a gift, but you never really make all your money on these things if you're doing them as a if you're trying to do them for
It seems like the best case scenario is you got to use something that you deemed too good to throw away years ago.
yeah, that's absolutely true, but the just even the labor time on these things, you really never get your labor out of them. And it's and if you were to charge all your labor time, then the project wouldn't be affordable. Most people wouldn't be able to do it and wouldn't do it because they wouldn't be able to put that kind of money in a toy. And so the technician is always going to take a hit. And anyway, but do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Ain't that right, baby?
Yep.
Alrighty. So now I'm going to go ahead and pour this in the tank.
This is just like an epoxy resin coating thing, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And so once I get all this in this tank, we're going to start rolling it around to disperse it.
Mm-hmm.
And this tank really only leaks on the back side of the bottom seam. We're still going to coat the whole tank.
But you concentrate the thing there.
Right.
That's where you leave the puddle.
Exactly. And we've used a ballpoint pen casing for the fuel filter stub at the petcock. And so when we pull that out after this has had time to cure, it will be we'll have a nice clean hole that we won't have to do any grinding or filing or shaping on. And one of those little tech tricks. And all right, so that is our product. And now we'll take 1 second, and I've got just a couple drops here on the tank itself. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe them up right this second. And yeah, that way I won't have to try to figure out how to buff them and polish them out later. All right, so now we're gonna start to roll around. And if you can see in that tank, let's see, I got my headlight right here. I can give a little bit of a worm's eye view here. As you can see, as I roll this thing around, and the product goes from one end to the other and coats all those interior surfaces. That's the idea, and the keeping the light on this thing where I can actually watch the puddle is important. And so I'm gonna put my headlight on, and yeah, that's nice and thick and gooey. This is the smallest tank I've ever done. The rest of them have been large motorcycle tanks, rather than small motorcycle tanks. It's like Heinz ketchup, anticipation. Oh, there we go. Anyway, you can see there, and I don't know if you can see it rolling down the neck of that. Oh yeah, that's how it's supposed to do. And again, you just keep rolling it and rolling it, and so anyway, you don't need to sit. Y'all don't need to sit here and watch me roll a tank around in circles. But I just wanted to show you the that part of the process. And this thing ought to be good to go by tomorrow, and we'll get it installed and get this thing out of here. I know the customer, like I say, the customer actually is going to ride this bike. He's a, I don't feel right about calling nobody a little fella, but he is, he's a smaller mammal, and he's a good fit for it, and he's a cool old guy, and I look forward to seeing him in traffic around the Cape Fear, because I know he's just going to enjoy the heck out of it. And this thing has some kind of nostalgia for him. It takes him back to a place in time that was dear to him. Just talking to him about what we were, about the project on drop off and all, it became very apparent to me that this was a thing that was taking him back to a place that was special to him. And that's one of the things about motorcycles and hot rods and trucks. Hell, I got an old truck, man, that I probably shouldn't have bought, but it took me back to a special place.
It brings you a lot of joy. I'm glad you bought it.
And it brings me an awful lot of joy. And so, again, I can certainly relate to the mentality on it, and I'm kind of happy that I can be that I can bring somebody some happiness like that and be part of that for them. But anyway, like I say, y'all don't need to sit here and watch me roll the tank around. You got anything else, Hannah?
Goodbye to the people.
All right, Dave. Well, hey, goodbye to the people. It's Hippie and Hannah out. And next time you see this, it'll be on a running motorcycle.